Some think the legend of Guns N' Roses began in the nighttime Los Angeles of 1985, a distant echo of West Hollywood's neon-lit Sunset Strip. Others think it should begin 10 years earlier, at the confluence of two Indiana rivers, the Wabash and the Tippecanoe, in the 1970s. But in this telling, the Gunner saga begins in gritty New York, in Upper Manhattan, on a sweltering, run-down street in the late afternoon of a summer day in 1980. Actually, it could begin way below the actual city street, in the deeply recessed concrete canyon of the Cross Bronx Expressway, which is where the two young hitchhikers from Indiana decided to get out of the car. It had been a good ride until then, a straight shot from the Ohio line across I-80, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Bill Bailey and his friend Paul, both 18, had left central Indiana via I-65 30 hours earlier and were making good hitching time toward their first visit to New York City. The Ford Econoline van that had picked them up crossed the Hudson over the majestic George Washington Bridge. To Bill and his friend, it was Bedlam, a Caribbean neighborhood in Washington Heights with a funky street scene of bodegas and shouting kids playing under open hydrants, crones yelling out of windows in Spanish, idlers under shop awnings, hustlers working the corners of 177 and Broadway. Bill and Paul, from Tippecanoe County in Indiana, were the only white faces in a sea of black people: Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, Dominicans, Muslim women in veils, Haitians, Hindus, Chinese shopkeepers, and lots of kids immediately picking up on two white boys who just climbed out of the hellish Cross Bronx like hayseed mountaineers in cowboy boots, blue jeans, and very long straight hair. The boys just stood and gaped, checking out this scene. Rapper's delight, bass-heavy hip-hop, blasted out of a bodega speaker. Lurid graffiti covered every flat surface. Kids were busting moves, break dancing, on the sidewalk. Bill Bailey had never seen this before. Basically, there weren't any black people in this part of Indiana, so they might as well have been in Senegal. Now an old man limped over to them. He gave them the once-over, seeming to linger over Bill's cowboy boots. Bill was becoming uneasy now, his friend noticed, which was never a good thing, because, when agitated or upset, Bill's behavior could get a little out there. Finally the old man spoke, or rather squawked, in a high-pitched shriek. "Do you know where you are?" The boys, taken aback, just looked at him. I said, "Do you know where you are?" Bill Bailey said, We're just trying to get to, you're in the jungle, baby." Bill Bailey, the future W. Axl Rose, just stared at him in wonderment. And then the little old man wound himself up to his full fury and told these white boys what they could expect from New York City at the tail end of the 70s. Years of bankruptcy, endemic crime, corruption, decadence, the gateway to the 80s and the scourge of AIDS. He told it to them straight from the gut: you're gonna die. Sometimes, legends come from true stories, and this is one of them. Welcome to the jungle.